busy presenting.
Okay.
And then as people trickle in, they'll just do everything. Okay, so I'm Becca. I'm one of the members of the Zero Hunger Hub here, who's working on hosting this webinar where we get to do kind of a fun little Q&A with ReWild Long Island. So I'm from Ellicott City, Maryland, and I've been a part of the hub for 3 years now. So I'm really excited to learn more.
Hi, Ben Koda. I'm also a part of the Zero Hunger Hub. I live in Arlington, Virginia, closer to Oakton, actually. But I've been a part of the hub for a few months now. I lead our Arlington Garden, and I'm really excited to be here.
Hi, everyone. I'm also an ambassador of the Zero Hunger Hub. I'm Leah, and I'm from Ellicott City, Maryland.
Okay.
So today's little webinar is going to be kind of like a casual format. We have some questions we've prepared for the great teens at ReWild Long Island, as well as a supplemental slideshow to back it up. But at any point during the presentation, feel free to throw your questions in the chat. If you'd like to, you can unmute yourself if you, oh wait, do we want to do unmuting or just questions in the chat?
I think questions in the chat would be just easier. I'll be monitoring the chat, so just feel free to drop any, and then I'll be vocalizing them to our 3 speakers, and they can answer them throughout.
Yeah, and we might have time to do a little Q&A at the end. It depends, but we really want this to be kind of like an open conversation. So feel free to come with any questions you might have. I do want to give like a brief like a little overview of the Zero Hunger Hub, so that you can, before we get into the ReWild Long Island, but the Zero Hunger Hub is like a subset of the Global CoLab, which is a worldwide teen-led organization that works towards the completion of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So we work a lot on decreasing food insecurity in our communities, whether it's through like community gardens.
Becca, I think you accidentally muted yourself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
We heard up till community gardens.
Oh, yeah. Community gardens and like food banks and drives and webinars like this. So this is one really cool thing we're able to do. Okay. And then Sky, do you want to kick us off into, or I can begin with our questions if you don't have anything else to introduce, Sky.
Nope. Let's get started.
Okay. Yay. Okay. So thank you so much to the teens from ReWild Long Island for being here today. Could you all please introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Annie Yao. So I'm a sophomore at Great Neck South High School in Long Island, New York. I was an intern in last year's ReWild summer program and returned as an organizer for this year, of which I mainly do publicity or design. Outside of ReWild, I'm the treasurer of my school's environmental club, and I really love visiting museums. You can kind of see that I didn't have a photo of me gardening, so this is me outside of the Met. And I'm just really excited to be here for today's webinar to bring awareness to the amazing work ReWild and Hunger Hub has done as teens for the environment.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Zhang. I'm a freshman at Great Neck South High School. Like Annie, I was an intern for ReWild summer program last year and returned to help organize the summer program this year in hopes to inspire more students to bring change to the environment. In addition to gardening and nature, I have a huge love for art and design. So I joined ReWild social media committee this year and now lead the team as the co-chair. Outside of ReWild, I like making art, cooking and baking, taking care of my balcony garden, studying math, and playing badminton.
Yes, so hi, I'm Tiffany Zhang, and I'm a junior at Great Neck South High School. And because of the amazing experience that I had as an intern at the ReWild Long Island summer program last year, I became an organizer for this year's summer program, and I designed and maintained the summer program pages on our website and also helped publicize and organize this year's summer program. And outside of gardening, I like to dance to K-pop songs, play badminton, and doodling. So although all three of us here are from Great Neck South High School, there are a bunch of other students from other high schools that participate in the summer program, including Great Neck North High School, Schreiberg High School, Northport High School, Roslyn High School, Herricks High School, and Manhasset High School.
Hey, great. It's great to have you guys.
For that.
Yeah, so I have a question. So can you explain, for those that don't know, what is ReWild Long Island?
Well, ReWild Long Island is a nonprofit organization that focuses on sustainable landscaping to fight the biodiversity and climate crisis. Sustainable landscaping is creating a landscape using environmentally friendly practices, and we like to use the acronym CROWN. So CROWN stands for composting, reusing and recycling, which reduces waste. The O is organic gardening, W is water wisely, and N is native plants, which sustain all life. We encourage the use of these practices by having weekly Saturday garden meetups at the ReWild Garden at Dodge in Port Washington, where anyone could come to the garden and help out. We also host webinars that discuss how you can make a difference, and our webinars are always recorded and posted on ReWild's YouTube channel, which we will put in the chat. You could check it out if you want to learn about sustainable landscaping topics, such as making your yard bird friendly, or learning about what host plants are good for attracting butterflies to your garden. We also organize and take part in many live events across Long Island, which you are more than welcome to join. And you can learn about that by visiting our upcoming events page at rewildlongisland.org.
Wow, yeah, that's really cool. I love that acronym. It makes it really accessible for everyone, I think. So why do you think a program like this is so important to have, especially in a place like Long Island?
So we have CROWN because we have 3 really important challenges that Long Island faces, and ReWild hopes to use CROWN to resolve these 3 problems, which are food insecurity, climate change, and the loss of biodiversity. So starting with food insecurity, many of us are privileged and lucky enough to not have to worry about where our next meal would come from, but much of the ReWild Long Island population faces food insecurity, and more than a quarter of that population consists of children, according to a recent Newsday article. After the pandemic hit, the number increased so much that almost all agencies had to turn away clients because of the shortage of food. So founded during the pandemic in 2020, ReWild collaborated with and continues to collaborate with Plant a Row, who cultivates, so we cultivate vegetable and fruit gardens at different locations, such as the Sands Point Preserve, the ReWild Dodge House, the Helen Keller Foundation, and we donate thousands of pounds of produce to the Plant a Row food pantry run by Our Lady of Fatima. So the second issue is climate change, which everyone knows about, and Long Island is facing it. So Long Island currently has higher than average levels of asthma, which is a respiratory disease linked to climate change and air pollution. And further worsening the quality of our air, Long Island contains landfills that release toxic emissions and odors. So to reduce the waste that pollutes the air, ReWild composts to nourish the soils of its gardens and also recycles plant pots to reduce the methane that is released. Now to what I think is the least talked about is the loss of biodiversity. I personally didn't know about the biodiversity crisis until I joined ReWild and learned that the loss of biodiversity is equally as important as climate change. And it's happening everywhere, including aquatic environments where eutrophication, the accumulation of nutrients in water that lead to algae bloom and nitrogen overload, and these problems are eliminating underwater ecosystems on Long Island. So since oysters are native bio extractors or natural water filters, ReWild hopes to solve or ameliorate the loss of biodiversity by using oyster farming. And so we work with oyster farming by coalition to save Hempstead Harbor to rehabilitate the oyster population and reduce water pollution. Additionally, the magazine Yale Environment 360 reports that 50% of all US and European green spaces are residential yards due to urban sprawl. So ReWild tackles this problem by holding annual native plant sales to encourage the creation of green native spaces and promote biodiversity, as these spaces can attract and provide homes for native insects and birds. So to truly make change, we need to educate our younger generation so we can resolve these enduring issues on Long Island in the future.
Great, thank you for sharing that. It's nice to see what ReWild is doing, and even just important problems that face all of us and in your local area as well.
Yeah,
so
I
the next
completely agree. Can I just cut in with a question from the chat, Sky?
Yeah.
Okay, so Carrie wants to know, what are some of Long Island's agricultural product exports?
Yes, so at ReWild Long Island, the summer program has various sites. So some of the sites are mainly for cultivating native plants or getting rid of invasives, but there are some sites that do have agricultural produce. And one of these sites, like for example, the Dodge Garden, usually produces tomatoes, as you see in the lower left corner. And we also have a bunch of small tomatillos, and then we also have eggplants, we have beans, and we have squash, peppers. We also, I believe we had corn at Dodge and also pumpkins. So each site we have a variety of different agricultural produce, but overall we usually have like a lot of tomatoes, peppers, squash, cucumbers. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's great. I find it similar to like most things, and the question was like phrased as like the entirety of Long Island's exports. Most agricultural exports from several states are like the same. There's probably not one that dominates the other. But for ReWild, I'm really glad to see you guys are growing natives as well as produce and stuff, which helps with multiple problems at once. Yeah. So the next question I have for you is about your personal experiences, and I want to know, like, how did you guys get involved with ReWild?
Yeah, so I heard about ReWild Long Island through a flyer posted in my club's classroom streams. Classrooms are a great way to get, of course, teenagers into spaces like this. Prior to the program, I've like never joined any kind of collective program geared towards the environment. But I was always an advocate regarding youth action. So I was really motivated towards the opportunity to spend my summer outside. I used to live in an urban area before I moved to Long Island. I lived in Queens and the city. So it's definitely way more rewarding to be outside and actually do stuff than being inside stuck with textbooks, as I'm sure some of us are doing this summer. The program offered real change that really appealed to me because the magnitude of global warming can feel really daunting as a teenager. I applied as an intern and I was so surprised by the amount of involvement we all had. Like, of course, I knew we had to work and get sweaty and muddy, but I never felt underestimated or undermined by any of the adults there or anyone else, really. This appreciation of teen effort was really what made me want to return.
Yeah, similar to Annie, I also found out about ReWild through my school. They sent out an email about the summer opportunity, and I was interested because I already had a huge love for plants and nature, as I love taking care of my succulents at home and go hiking with my family. So this program really appealed to me because I can expand my knowledge by getting involved with gardening, which I've never done before because I live in an apartment. So that appealed to me, and I really wanted to apply and learn about sustainable landscaping and growing organic fruits and vegetables. Plus, the goal of the program to fight hunger and climate change was the perfect cherry on top because what is better than what's a better way than spending your summer than having fun and doing something meaningful at the same time?
Yeah, I totally agree with Annie and Cynthia. And I also, similar to them, I learned about ReWild Long Island summer program through a school's email. And not only did this program provide the perfect opportunity for me to go outside and spend time with my family over the summer, but it also allowed me to spend time strengthening my connection with nature as someone who loves to hike, appreciate my surroundings and natural areas, and plans to grow plants in my future home and backyard. And I went into the summer program without a lot of experience, but I still learned a lot from it and had a lot of fun.
It's really amazing to hear like how you got into it, and I think that's a school getting through the school is how I got into the Zero Hunger Hub. So I think it's a really common way, and like doing things through schools as well. You guys have touched on a lot of really cool projects like the community gardens and the native plants, even I think you mentioned mussels earlier. Could you go a little further into like the different projects you all have worked on? Maybe some of your favorite or most impactful?
Sure. Among like so many other things, for me personally, I think the main project we did was the enormous harvest we collected after months of the whole summer of hard work. So ReWild was in partnership with Plant-A-Row, as it was mentioned before. It's a local program in Long Island that tackles food insecurity in the community by encouraging nearby gardens to grow organic vegetables. You can see on the slide that all the boxes were donated to food pantries or families in need, which was so extremely worthwhile because it allowed people around us to gain access to fresh, nutritional, organic vegetables, such as tomatoes, peppers, squash, very staple foods. The vegetable beds also attract pollinators like bumblebees and predators like ladybugs. They're all so great for the ecosystem, as of course, as we know, everything functions without the other. Everything doesn't function without the other. And still, the end product isn't necessarily the most important thing. for me, the journey of seeding to weeding to watering to harvesting and investing that time over the entire summer and the beginning of fall, it was really inspiring to see because everyone still maintained the energy to continue despite school beginning or more projects building up. It wasn't only about watching the boxes being driven off to families or pantries, but also about seeing how passionate everyone was in contributing to a cause that helped dozens of people across Long Island in our own communities. ReWild did also a lot of conservation with butterflies with an emphasis on monarchs. In the past 2 decades, the monarch butterfly population has dropped over 50% in most areas due to the increase of pesticides and loss of milkweed habitats. And like any endangered species, it's really tragic to see an integral part of the environment being threatened because of human activity. So the work we did with milkweeds, searching for eggs and releasing butterflies was really beyond valuable. I personally worked in a few gardens that raise butterflies, or we had volunteers who would take them home to raise them. And that was just so amazing to see how really anyone can do such a thing. As you can see in the second slide with all the chrysalis, we've got to see every stage of the development process, which really makes us appreciate the hours we spent flipping milkweeds to look for the tiny white eggs.
Yeah, I find all of your work and projects super inspiring, and I think I can also definitely relate to what you were saying, Annie, about how the process is kind of the more, not the most important part, but maybe something that you found more valuable or kind of striked you as the best part of the experience, because I think cultivating a garden is very community to work with and meet a lot of new people, and yeah, realizing that is just very exciting and super great, I think.
Yeah, so it seems like also people could get a really good introduction into it if they're just doing the summer program, right? Because then they can spend their time in the summer getting to do all these different activities. Do you get to pick and choose what you engage with, or is it just like sort of an all around whatever's happening?
Well, the nice thing about the program is as teens, we get a huge amount of flexibility in the locations or times or scheduling. That's something I really liked as well, because some of us aren't as accessible as others or timing. And for ReWild specifically, we have like a dozen locations, but each location, although it all concentrates on fighting fighting against the loss of biodiversity or feeding families, each one has its own specific kind of focus in some. So a location in Shelter Rock had coyote walks where we looked for a bunch of coyotes and little animals in their nature reserve. And then here we can see that I know at the Science Museum Long Island, we also did milkweed and butterflies like the Dodge House. So it was really nice that it was always a kind of a surprise because they don't always tell you what is happening before. And I was at first when I joined the program, I didn't know that we would do beyond more than just gardening. So when I saw all like the little butterflies and they told us we're going to look for eggs today, I was so pleasantly surprised by that because it really felt like we were doing way more than just gardening, like some people might think.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have had like a really nice experience and like these really fun projects that also make an impact. And I'm guessing these butterflies are going to be one of the sounds like one of your favorite moments. But I want to ask to the whole group, have you guys had any favorite moments or memories of your time at ReWild?
Yes, so my favorite memory was related to what Annie was talking about with the monarch butterflies. And at Dodge, we released monarch butterflies that the people from the volunteers from the other sites have raised, and we had the opportunity to see a couple of caterpillars become chrysalises and we had the butterflies crawl onto our fingers before we released them. And we learned that all monarch butterflies migrate to Mexico in the fall, that the trees become all covered with butterflies that they seem orange. So I recommend you guys search that out. It's really cool. And unfortunately, this species is endangered due to the declining population of milkweeds, which is the plant that monarch caterpillars eat and spend their lives on. And this tangible experience really helped me recognize the life and the different species around us more fully than instead of just photos on the internet.
Yeah, I agree with Tiffany.
Yeah, I think that
Releasing
makes a
the
lot of
monarch
sense.
yeah, releasing the monarch butterflies was also a very memorable experience for me. Another memory I had was harvesting produce. The first time I harvested produce, which was at the Helen Keller National Center Plant and Row Garden. I was really happy to see the bright yellow squash and zucchini emerge from the plants that we pruned and cared for weeks. There's a video attached of me harvesting our first box of organic produce at the Helen Keller Garden. So yeah, so that day I could feel the excitement in the air, as it was also the first time that many others were harvesting vegetables too. Everyone was holding pruners and roaming around the garden looking for squash and zucchini emerging under their large leaves. It felt like we were children going on a treasure hunt, so it was really fun.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. That's great. Now, yeah, did you guys have that with many different produces that you were harvesting? Like, was harvest time just as exciting for both squash and like maybe tomatoes and stuff?
Yeah, it definitely was. Um, Tomatoes were a large, like one the there were a lot of like tomatoes at many of the locations, including the Helen Keller Garden. They came in, like they grew and matured later in the season. So we harvested the squash and zucchini first, but the tomatoes were also really fun to harvest.
Yeah, it looks like you guys had an amazing yield. Did you have like some kind of guidance or advice from people who are more experienced in gardening that helped you get to that point?
Yeah, our summer program is revolved around the concept of learning while doing. So while we were taking care of the garden, pruning, watering, weeding, the mentors there taught us how to do it while we were caring for the garden.
Yeah, to add on, we also have our training week where all the new interns and volunteers go to the different sites and explore what they do and the site and how it's laid out. And I remember last year when I was an intern, they let us do kind of a hands-on training at Helen Keller, and that's where to prune a plant. So that was really cool experience.
Yeah. Speaking of like when you first started and the internship and everything, did you guys face any challenges that you had to overcome when you were initially getting started?
Yeah, as someone who had no prior experience in gardening or working in nature besides hiking, I had no idea what I was going to expect going into the summer program, besides people wearing sun hats, and I was imagining people like raking in like monocultural farms with rows and rows of the same crop. But however, on the first day of the summer program, I visited Dodge, which is the base, the hub of ReWild Long Island, and I saw beds of various plants unknown to me at that time. And there were tomato plants, marigolds, milkweed, and the list goes on and on. And when we walked around the garden, I was astonished by the vast variety of plants which were grown in such a small area. And I got my first opportunity to work hands-on, as previously mentioned, at the Helen Keller Plant and Row Center. And although having no prior experience, one of the adult mentors allowed me to borrow her pruning shears and taught me how to prune tomato plants and basil plants. And I became so engaged in the activity that I did not want to stop when we had to leave. This experience really helped reshape how I view gardening and definitely made me feel like I had to come back from work this year.
That's lovely. I'm glad you had an experience like that, because not a lot of people get to have that. And it's something what we want, both for change reasons, but also just for people's quality of life and just experience that they have in their everyday lives. It's great we want younger people and anyone really to have those experiences. And it's great that you and ReWild Long Island in general gets to facilitate those experiences. And going off of like getting to experience that, is there any big thing you learned from those experiences, and maybe what did you take away from them?
Yeah, definitely. Like I learned so much. You can really tell about the way I talk about how we all talk about it, how like we just really loved the program and what we did last summer. For me, the kindness of community was the first and foremost thing I really learned. Like I said before, I hadn't really joined a program outside of school with so many people my age working for a common cause. And gardening definitely isn't a solitary thing, at least not when there's so many tasks to accomplish in such little time. So teamwork was a very essential part of the program. The environment was also hugely different from one seen in like a classroom project setting. So you have to learn to adapt to new situations and problem solve pretty quickly. With that learning curve, you ask a lot of questions, whether it be with the other teens or the adult organizers. So it becomes very social. I know I definitely became a lot more open over the summer and being able to talk to so many people, or just like practicing my small talk skills. Everyone was so friendly and accommodating, especially the adult organizers and volunteers who guided us into how to work like certain tools or what certain plants or species were. We all had a hand in a final product, whether that was for nearly clearing an area of invasive plants or deep boxes of colorful vegetables.
Yeah, I agree with Annie, and I learned not only a bunch of valuable skills that I can bring into the future in college and even my work life, but also I learned a lot about the proximity of the issues of hunger, climate change, and loss of biodiversity in my community, which Cynthia previously touched upon. Ever since I was little, I always lived in my little bubble consisting of only school, friends, and family. And the larger issues beyond my bubble seemed abstract and intangible. And I never personally saw the rising sea levels, the extinction of species, and worsening of natural disasters. And I assumed that the adults got under control when I was younger. So, but as I grew up, my ignorance continued until I attended the summer program, and it gave me the firsthand experience of invasive kudzu, climbing up trees, and the loss of plants once native to our community. And it really opened my eyes to the responsibility of every individual, child, teen, adult, to preserve the earth. And the summer program became the catalyst for me to move forward and become active in my community. And this really continues to motivate me to pursue sustainability efforts throughout the rest of my life.
Thank you. Yeah. That's super cool. All these lessons learned and everything. And I want to know how that's going to apply kind of to all of your futures and what you plan to do after ReWild or like outside of it, how you're going to take these lessons. And if you're going to continue to try to work towards decreasing food insecurity or advancing sustainability.
Oh, for sure. Just one instance is at Great Neck South High. Cynthia and I are in a club called Area C. It stands for Animal Rescue Environmental Awareness Club. Because of our experience at ReWild last summer, we were able to successfully initiate a wildflower garden on our campus grounds. We actually just received the flowers this May, and then we planted a week ago, and you can definitely see how vibrant it made the school campus. Would you like to explain about it, Cynthia?
Yeah, so for our garden at Area C, it shows how anyone could step up and make a difference. And your actions will also be seen by others and inspire more people to advocate for climate resilience. So yeah, our goal of the garden is to support pollinators through planting natives. But one of the major goals we have for planting this garden that's often overlooked is to inspire other students. So when we get this garden up and going, science teachers can bring their students outside for outdoor classroom activities, and gym classes will pass through in the back of the school and see our work. So a large part of fighting climate change is awareness and education. So if everyone is aware and educated about the climate crisis and watch what they do in their daily lives, that's already enough. People don't have to do something major, like start a garden, but yeah, because it's all about incorporating small sustainable habits into your daily lives, like recycling or composting or donating your old clothes instead of throwing them out. So all we need is to have everyone chip in a bit, and then we can truly make a difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, when I was visiting college campuses, I was inspired by the summer program, summer program's goal of increasing biodiversity. That when I was visiting college campuses, many of them were brimming with ivy and non-native species and really lacked biodiversity, and really made me feel like I had to make a change once I go into college. And since colleges are hubs for the leaders of the future, we must create an environment with native plants and encourage them to practice sustainability in their lives. And so in the future, I want to extend ReWild Long Island to my college campus by creating a similar volunteer organization to work on various sites within or outside of the campus and throughout the local community. And so we hope to inspire more teenagers that change is needed and change is possible. And you don't have to be in a large scale program. You can always start small and just reach out to your community's initiatives and ask to volunteer as a helping hand. And also, as we previously touched upon, most of us got into these initiatives through our school. So always reach out to your school, your teachers, your counselors, and see if they have any ideas or know any programs that would suit your needs and inspire you to volunteer in a similar initiative. And also, if you're not sure where to start, you can reach out to the Global Collab, who have great people to help you and get you started. And if you're in New York, reach out to ReWild Long Island, and maybe you could volunteer and help out at our upcoming summer program.
Thank you, Tiffany, for that. That was super inspiring. And thank you, Paige, in the chat. That is really cool. I think that ReWild Long Island will be super excited to have some more people engaged in the program. I wanted to say that I think it's so amazing how programs like this are able to make a really easy transition into volunteer work and engaging with your community. And like you guys were saying earlier, I think it can be really intimidating, especially like when you're still in school and you are trying to juggle so much, but you feel like maybe you can't make an impact. I think that just trying something out like this, trying out a summer program, is a really great way to get involved and make some friends and learn new things. So the last thing, I thank you, Tiffany, Cynthia, and Annie for being here today. The last thing that I wanted to ask you guys was if you had any closing remarks for people in the chat or anyone who watches this video about how they can stay inspired or get involved. Yeah, any final remarks?
As I previously said, to add on, I wanted to say that reach out to maybe like your friends, because I know there's a bunch of clubs at my school where someone wants to start something, someone wants to start an initiative, a club, but they don't have a following yet. And usually I recommend reaching out to friends and also teachers to help publicize. And if you're really inspired and motivated by something that you really want to do, I think you would be able to achieve it and if you want it at the large scale, I think you'll be able to achieve it at a large scale. So just try your best and then spread out and try to reach as many people as you can. And I think that will help a lot for your initiative and also your community. And as previously mentioned, if you're in New York or near Long Island, I recommend reaching out to ReWild Long Island and thinking about volunteering. We're still open for new volunteers if you want to volunteer. We have more information on our website, rewildlongisland.org. And also, if you are not in New York, you can join the Global Collab, where they can help you get started with initiative at your school in your community if there isn't one already.
Yeah, I think Tiffany said it really well that you could start large scale and by reaching out to people in your school, your friends, your teachers. You can also start small scale in your own home. If you have a yard or a balcony, you could maybe put in some native plants, some wildflowers, maybe cultivate some fruits and vegetables. There are many resources online where you could get like for ReWild Long Island. I know we have a YouTube channel where we have many speakers talk about what kind of plants you could put in your yard to attract birds or what kind of flowers are pollinator friendly. And so you could start yourself small scale in your own space too.
yeah, definitely check out their YouTube channel. They have a lot of resources, and you can kind of get started through that too. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Does anyone, we have some QR codes up to get more information about ReWild Long Island and the Global Collab. And feel free to share this with your friends. But does anyone in the chat have questions for either the Zero Hunger Hub or the teens from ReWild Long Island?
Yeah, we're open to any questions. They could be about ReWild Long Island or the summer program, or maybe us as individuals and what we've done.
I have a question. Annie, Cynthia, and Tiffany, are you guys all going to college next year, or are you staying in ReWild again for the next school year? How's that going to work for you guys?
Yeah, so I'm currently a junior, and next year I will, the coming fall, I'll become a senior, and I'm thinking about possibly continuing volunteering at ReWild that year. And if I have time, I'm not sure what my schedule will look like in college, but if I have the time to, I would definitely try to continue volunteering at ReWild, or maybe I've already started that college volunteer organization, so maybe I'll work on that.
Yeah, right now I'm only a sophomore, but it's actually really cool because this program really helped me decide what I most likely want to do in the future, which is now landscape architecture. And it's really awesome because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had all sorts of interests, and I was initially thinking architecture because I really love art and design, but also STEM fields. And then I saw the ReWild program and what we did, and then I was so surprised by how much I cared about nurturing and building the natural environment, which is really what landscape architecture is about. I'll definitely, if I can, continue the program until my senior year. And once I go to college, I'm sure that the skills I learned there with my major can definitely contribute even more so.
Yeah, same with Annie and Tiffany. I will probably continue ReWild until my senior year because I learned a lot, but there's still a lot more to learn. And I'm a freshman right now, so I have 3 more years.
Yeah, that's great. We actually do have another question from the chat from Nancy, and she asked, how did the ReWild interns choose their work sites?
So we have an orientation. So for those who sign up for a summer program, we provide an orientation where we describe which sites are for organic gardening, which sites are for rewilding, and also additional activities that we have. Like this year we have a new activity which is designing your own garden. So we introduce that all to our interns and volunteers, and then they could choose. We have a sign up list, and they could choose which sites they want to go to. We always encourage everyone to try at least one site from each like topic. There's a group of sites that will be for organic gardening, one site's for rewilding preserves, and we also have beach cleanups. So we encourage everyone to try different things, and then they could choose specifically what they want later in the summer.
Yeah, to add on to Cynthia, the schedule is very flexible. We have an activity pretty much every day. So if you can't make it to one site, you could sign up to another the same week. And it's overall very flexible. And that's how interns and volunteers can sign up. And we also have the schedule on our website.
Yeah, Tiffany, I think that actually leads into one of our next questions from Jennifer, who asks, what is the recommended amount of hours that one should work per week for the ReWild interns?
Yeah, so for me last year I worked 4 hours per week, which is 2 sites per week. And we also had the Sunday Zoom sessions, which also added onto our hours. During the Sunday Zoom sessions, we learned more about sustainability and gardening and what we can do. Like I remember last year there was one which talked about how you could design a garden and different garden designs. So that's definitely something that's hopefully we'll have again. And you'll also be designing your own garden this year too. So you definitely can do hands-on regarding that. So that was approximately, I believe, 5 to 6 hours per week. And I finished before school started, all 60 hours, because interns are required to have 60 hours total for the summer program.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then we have a question from Becca who asks, how can adults get involved who may be interested in mentoring?
Well, for mentoring, most of the adult mentors are connected with the sites we worked at. For example, I worked a lot at the Science Museum Long Island. So Peggy Marslow, she was on the board of the museum. So she was obviously a very good candidate as a mentor. But we have a lot of adult volunteers. Like I know Cynthia and Tiffany's parents volunteered. So it was like really cool to see how people of all ages really cared about the work we do, even if we're really a group of teenagers. I don't know, maybe Cynthia and Tiffany would like to add their parents' experiences.
Yeah, so our parents generally just follow along with the sites that we went to. If you're an adult that wants to volunteer at ReWild, I would say first reach out to us, and then we'll check the availability of different sites, and we can let you know which sites that you would be able to go to, because we do have a sign-up sheet, but that's mainly for the summer program for high schoolers. But we are definitely open to adults who want to volunteer.
Is there an email that people could contact if they want a more direct?
Oh, yep. We have our email for the summer program is called summerorganizers@ReWild Long Island. But if you have any questions regarding ReWild Long Island, the organization as a whole, I recommend you email admin@rewildlongisland.org. Let me put those emails in chat.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, I was about to ask. Does anyone want to add any more like technical specifics of their experience and how many hours they put in, or anything extra?
Oh yeah, sure. I know Tiffany mentioned that interns are required to work 60 hours as a minimum. I personally, even though the program is supposed to span from June to October, just for me, it was way easier for me to do all the hours in the summer months, so from June to August. So I personally worked 6 hours a week plus the Zoom sessions, so 3 different locations. And what was nice about that is I specifically asked for that option, and the Raju, who is like the head of everything, it was nice how much trust he had in me, even though I asked for a little bit larger workload and less time. I think that was a really nice opportunity as well for teenagers to learn the how to schedule themselves and how to manage their own time, which is a very important skill we need in the future.
Is ReWild Long Island also scheduling time is important, but is it also flexible with student schedules and stuff like that?
Yeah, generally, if you are signing up as an intern or volunteer, you really need to join training week, which is the last weeks of June, and that goes to every single location to get a scope of what they all need or are asking for. But let's say you have a vacation for 2 weeks in August, then it's very flexible in allowing you to rearrange your hours to still get all the hours you need in while accommodating your time and your life.
That's great. I'm glad it promotes time management, but also flexibility of individual schedules. Yeah, so we're beginning to wrap up now. It's almost 2. So if anyone has any final questions, any questions that are burning up and they need to ask right now, you can do that right now. But if we do not have any more, then
So actually just got a question from Nancy.
great.
You're asking, did interns manage summer jobs along with the program volunteering?
I don't think any of us specifically worked a job, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure there were a few interns who did have summer jobs, and even if you did, I'm pretty sure one of our interns last year had a summer job, and then even if she did, it would you could schedule your own time. And what's nice is most of the programs and activities take place in the morning, the very early morning, and some of them take place in the afternoon to avoid the overbearing sun that we can have in August. And of course, as I said, it's very flexible. So it's nice that you can plan around your time and then juggle all the spaces you need, which is, again, another valuable skill you need.
Great. Yeah. It was amazing having this webinar with you guys and learning about your guys' experience and how you make change as teenagers and just everything you guys do. I'm hoping the attendees and anyone who views this afterwards gets something out of this, because I know I did. If we want to re-put the email in there, just so when people are on their way out, they can contact either the Hunger Hub or ReWild, they can do that. If we just want to quickly put that in, I can do that as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for everyone for coming. Thank you to our speakers. This has been a really great experience. And the video will be up on the Global Collab Network and also the YouTube channel, and as well as the ReWild Long Island.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for all your questions. This is super exciting to learn more about ReWild and speaking to Annie, Tiffany, and Cynthia.
Okay, so I think we can go ahead and wrap up now. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Sky, I think you could end the meeting, or do you want to stop the recording?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.